Day after new rule book over new words termed unparliamentary, political row now over yet another order by Parliament ahead of the upcoming session that states that the Parliament can no longer be used for demonstrations, dharnas, strikes, fasts or religious ceremonies. Opposition is now lashed out over the new order. Jairam Ramesh has tweeted and he's leading the Congress's charge in Parliament now. Pallavi Ghosh is with me. Pallavi, I think these bulletins were issued earlier also saying that you can't carry out dharnas, fast. That did not stop opposition from gathering outside Gandhi Murti. What strikes out is the mention of religious ceremonies.
That's right. In fact, I was just coming to that because there's also been this criticism that are the precincts of Parliament being used to conduct religious ceremony, and that was the ground on which, for example, the opposition has objected both to, remember, if the Bhumi Pujan had taken place, saying that first, what was the need for it, and second, should the beginning actually be done in a manner in which you're clearly trying to reach out to your particular vote bank. But having said that, I don't think the opposition is going to stress only on the religious ceremony part. They're going to stress on the fact that, having demonstrations and dharna over there is very much a part of parliamentary democracy. They're going to call it a muzzling of the freedom of the opposition and also muzzling of the democratic norms. We've all seen that, for example, outside the Gandhi statue. Also, if you remember, many of the opposition MPs who were suspended for a brief period of time, what they would do so is sit outside the parliament building, within the parliament ground itself, and they would be, do the dharna from morning till the evening, and they would have their meals there, for example. All of this is now no longer going to be allowed. According to the parliament, it's because there is a rule, there's a security reason, and therefore there is a decorum which needs to be maintained.
Essentially, is the government and the Parliament Secretariat of the view that the opposition protests inside the Parliament building, outside the Gandhi Murti that we see between 10 and 10:30 every day before the actual House assembles, those dharnas will now be part of history? Is that what the Secretariat is saying?
Well, what the Secretariat is saying is that you cannot have those dharnas and demonstrations. You always have the House inside where you can raise your voice to debates and discussions. If those protests have to take place, then they should take outside the parliament, which is near the Vijay Chowk area. But having said that, usually Section 144 is also put in place. You cannot crowd in areas outside the parliament. So the same yardstick can always be applied there in the case of, holding dharnas and demonstrations, and they often have been when opposition has marched down either to Rashtrapati Bhavan, holding the dharmas and demonstrations. So as far as the opposition is going to concern, they are not going to find any logic to it. Their argument, of course, is that when the BJP was in opposition, they too used to hold these demonstrations outside the Gandhi statue.
And they've also made an issue of this always, isn't it? That inside the well of the House or inside the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, when they protest, their protest is not telecast on the assigned television channels. Their posters, banners, their voices are muzzled. That has been a constant charge for the last 5-8 years.
Yes, Rahul Gandhi, for example, would always make the point that whenever we stand up to speak, our mics are switched off. The television cameras of both Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha TV never ever focuses on any opposition leader. Even when the opposition is creating a ruckus inside Parliament and they walk up to the well of the House and they say it's their right to do so, then the cameras never focus on them. The focus is only on the speaker or the focus is only on members of the Treasury bench. I think it's going to now be a pull-out war from words, restriction on usage of words, to dharnas and demonstrations. You will just watch through the day, there will be one reaction after another from the opposition.
Pallavi, I already have two senior members who are joining me, expecting them to give us their first reactions. Majid Memon from the NCP, Tom Vadakkan from the BJP. Mr. Majid Memon, first reaction, first word on this bulletin.
Well, you see, these kinds of compulsions and imposition of the Sabha, must be very well thought. Now, if you say that there will be total ban on protest, then democracy will not survive. You see, the whole structure of democracy, the functioning of democracy is based upon raising objections, finding fault with the government wherever the government errs by method of protesting against it. Of course, the protest has to be regulated in the sense that we should not permit the throwing of objects in the house or running to the well and physically trying to harm either the chairman or any other fellow member. That, of course, that kind of, which is all without saying it goes, that they have to conduct in a decent manner. But you can't ban the protest. Today they are in government. They will be on the other side tomorrow. They will repent.
Right.
How are they going to check? And the democracy can't function unless you allow criticism.
Mr. Tom
Criticism
Vadakar,
is
Jaiveer Shergill is calling this, darbar of psychophancy. Why was this need felt to issue, or reiterate such a bulletin whereby all dharnas and protests are banned?
Well, this incident has started off from the suspension of certain members for misbehavior in the House. That is the background of this. What they did is there for the whole world to see. When that was done, they said it was a murder of democracy. And then they said the members have a right to demonstrate. But you have a right to demonstrate, but your right ends when you're creating a ruckus, tearing files, destroying documents. You are throwing the mics around. That's where your right ends. You need to be, you have been given a mandate to represent the people. Do represent the people in the right way. Don't start
Right.
a ruckus. Ruckus meaning creating violence.
Mr. Vadakar, I'm sorry, I have to intervene because Mr. Hamid